clock on the wall strikes 8:15 p.m. The empty office space, which once buzzed with the chatter of sales calls and the hum of office printers, now only echoes the soft tapping of keys. Melissa Harrison's fingers rest on the keyboard, hesitating just above the letters. She should have been done by now, closing the books, finishing her day, heading home to her modest apartment across town. But the reality of her career weighs on her like a burden she cannot shake off. She runs a hand through her short, graying hair, adjusting her glasses that have slipped slightly down her nose. Her desk is cluttered with half-filled notebooks, open email tabs, and stacks of marketing brochures that she's been creating for the past 2 years. Time she could have spent doing something else, maybe something that could have brought more recognition. But she wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She had to earn her way up, inch by painstaking inch, with every proposal she sent out. The only problem was, none of those proposals had ever been accepted. Not fully. Not until now. Melissa shifts in her worn office chair and stares at the flashing cursor on her screen. The email to Greg Owens, her former boss, now a well-established executive at a mid-sized marketing firm, sits there, open, waiting for her to click send. It's the same proposal she had sent him a year ago, the same one he had laughed off as being too expensive. Too high a rate, too unrealistic. He'd said it was a noble idea, but dismissed it without a second thought. She remembers the tone in his voice as he said it, the way he casually pushed her dreams aside like they were nothing. "You've got to be kidding me. Your rates are higher than what we pay half our full-time staff, Melissa," he had said with a mocking laugh. Her stomach had churned in that moment. She wasn't foolish enough to expect him to say yes. But that didn't make the rejection sting any less. But tonight, something feels different. The taste of rejection is still bitter on her tongue, but the fire inside her is still burning, maybe brighter than ever. She isn't that naive woman, a secretary who had spent the last 2 decades quietly working in the background. No, tonight she knows her worth. Tonight, she doesn't feel the need to shrink away from rejection. She feels the urge to rise above it. So, she sits there, staring at the email draft. She can almost hear his voice in her head again, laughing, dismissing her proposal. The laughter echoes, bouncing off the walls of her small office, mocking her confidence. Yet, deep inside, she knows something has shifted. There's a quiet strength inside of her now. A strength born of knowing that the work she does is valuable, not just to her but to the world. The proposal isn't just a pitch anymore. It's her statement. It's her future. She closes her eyes for a moment and takes a deep breath. The quiet hum of the computer fills the air as she leans forward, hands hovering over the keys, fingers tense but steady. A part of her wants to hit send and be done with it, to see if Greg would change his mind, if the world would see her for what she was worth. But then, she reconsiders. Instead of sending it, she revises the email one last time, strengthening the language, making her case even more compelling. She includes references to the growing trend of small businesses in Detroit needing innovative marketing strategies, backed by research and new case studies. She knows Greg can't argue with hard data. She's built a solid reputation over the last year, gathering more clients, working harder than anyone else. They're all rooting for her to succeed, even if Greg hasn't figured that out yet. The cursor blinks again, waiting, taunting her. She sighs and hits send. For the first time in a long while, Melissa feels a wave of calm wash over her. She doesn't expect a reply anytime soon, nor does she care. This isn't about Greg. This is about her. Her moment. Her future. She has no desire to sit around and wait for someone to tell her she's good enough anymore. The click of the mouse feels like a small victory, like the beginning of something she's been waiting for, even if the world isn't ready to acknowledge it yet. As she stands from her desk, she stretches, feeling the strain of the long day in her muscles. It's late, but she feels awake, more awake than she's been in years. She walks to the window, pulling aside the blinds to gaze out at the darkened streets of downtown Detroit. The city that had once been full of dreams is now struggling, hardly the vibrant place it used to be. The factories have long since closed down. The businesses that once thrived are now abandoned, and the streets seem quieter, lonelier. The echoes of the past are everywhere, but there's something in the air tonight. Something Melissa can't quite place. Maybe it's the way the city seems to be holding its breath. Maybe it's the way she feels like she's been holding hers, waiting for the right moment, the right chance to prove herself. She doesn't know what will happen next. She doesn't know if Greg will respond, if the deal will go through, or if anyone will ever see her as more than just a secretary. But what she does know is this: she's done waiting. She's done begging for permission. Her proposal wasn't about the money. It was about validation. It was about proving to herself that she could do it, no matter what anyone else said. The phone rings, breaking the silence of the night. Melissa freezes for a moment, unsure whether to answer. She looks down at the phone and sees the number flashing on the screen. It's Greg. The tension in her chest builds, but she picks up the phone anyway. "Hello?" she says, her voice calm, measured. There's a long pause on the other end of the line. She can almost hear Greg's hesitation, as if he's unsure whether to give her the satisfaction of an answer. "Melissa," he finally says, his voice tight, not the confident, mocking tone she remembers, but something else. "I got your proposal. I think you might be onto something here." The words hit her like a shock to the system. For a moment, she can't believe it. Greg Owens, the man who had laughed at her dream, now admits that she's onto something. Her heart pounds in her chest. "Thanks for reaching out," he continues. "Let's talk about next steps. We may need you after all." For the first time in a long time, Melissa feels the weight of her years of hard work lifting off her shoulders. It wasn't Greg who gave her permission. It was her own quiet strength that made him see her worth. She hangs up the phone, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. She doesn't need to celebrate. The victory is hers, quietly and profoundly earned. But tonight, as the city hums quietly below her, Melissa knows she's taken the first step towards something much bigger than a proposal. Tonight, she's begun to step into the life she's meant to live. Melissa's phone rings again the next morning, breaking the early silence of her apartment. The sun barely peeks over the horizon, casting a faint glow on the streets below. She hasn't slept much, not since last night. The call from Greg was unexpected, and for a moment, she had thought she might still be dreaming. Her thoughts swirl with the possibility of her proposal actually being accepted, but the weight of her decision lingers like a silent question. Was she ready? She picks up the phone on the third ring, her voice hoarse but steady. "Hello, it's Robert," the business owner she had briefly met a few months ago at the Detroit farmers market. He's calling about her proposal, the one she sent to him after Greg's rejection. A small flutter of hope spreads through her chest. "Melissa, it's Robert. I got your email," he says. His voice is warm, but there's a sense of seriousness in it too. "I'm interested in what you've got. I want to meet with you and talk about moving forward." Melissa feels the familiar sensation of a tight knot forming in her stomach, but this time, it's not fear. It's the thrill of opportunity. She had worked so long in the shadows, unnoticed and overlooked. But now, here was someone recognizing her worth. "Absolutely, Robert," she replies. "I'll be there this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity." When she hangs up, a moment of quiet stillness settles over her. For the first time in months, she feels like her hard work is paying off. But there's a sense of urgency in her chest, too. She can't waste this chance. She has to prove to Robert and to herself that she can do this on her own. The next few hours are a blur of preparation, pulling together her best proposals, refining her pitch, gathering the research she needs. The morning light filters through the blinds as she stands in front of the mirror, adjusting her blouse and making sure her appearance reflects the new confidence she feels inside. As she heads out the door, her thoughts are still racing. What if Robert decides against her? What if this is just another disappointment? She takes a deep breath, pushing those thoughts aside. This is her chance. She won't let it slip away. The drive to downtown Detroit is quick, the streets quiet at this early hour. The city seems to be waking up, the neon signs of small businesses flickering to life. But it feels different now. Once vibrant and full of hope, Downtown Detroit has been overshadowed by years of economic decline. The abandoned factories stand like hollow monuments to the past, the streets lined with buildings that have seen better days. Yet, Melissa knows that, like her, there are still people here, people who are fighting to make things better. Robert's office is on the 4th floor of a small building, tucked between an old diner and a warehouse that looks like it hasn't been touched in decades. She takes the elevator up, her heartbeat thudding in her ears. When the doors open, she steps out into the narrow corridor, the faint smell of coffee lingering in the air. She walks down the hall, taking in the worn carpets, the peeling paint on the walls. It's a far cry from the polished, high-end offices she used to visit when she was just a secretary. But there's something about this place. Feels real, feels authentic. And for the first time in a long time, she doesn't feel like an outsider. At the end of the hallway, she finds Robert's office. He stands as she enters, offering a firm handshake. His suit is well-tailored, but there's a humility about him, nothing flashy. He seems like the type of man who appreciates hard work and honesty, traits Melissa can relate to. "Come in, Melissa. Take a seat." He gestures toward the chair across from his desk. As she sits down, Robert starts to speak. "I've read through your proposal. It's bold, it's ambitious, and it's exactly what we need to revitalize the businesses around here. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while." Melissa listens carefully as he continues, outlining his vision for downtown Detroit, a vision that aligns perfectly with the work she's done in the past year. He talks about the struggle of keeping small businesses afloat, about the need for creative marketing that speaks to people on a deeper level. "You understand what it's like to work in a community like this," Robert says, his voice growing more passionate. "People have been overlooked for so long. They need someone who believes in them, someone who can show them how much they matter." Melissa nods, her confidence growing with every word he speaks. This isn't just business. This is personal. She knows what it's like to fight for something you believe in, to push against the odds and make a way where none exists. It's been her reality for years. "I do," she replies quietly. "I've been doing this work because I believe in the people here. They deserve to be seen. They deserve a chance to grow." Robert leans back in his chair, a thoughtful look on his face. He looks at Melissa as if weighing her words, as if considering her for the first time. There's no more skepticism in his eyes, just understanding. "I think we can do something great here, Melissa," he says finally, his voice firm. "Let's make it happen. What do you need from me?" The question hangs in the air for a moment. Melissa knows this is the moment she's been waiting for. It's her opportunity to prove that she's not just another small-time freelancer, that she's someone who can make an impact. She sits up straighter, her mind racing with the possibilities. "This is it. I need full support," she says, her voice steady. "I'll need access to the community, connections to the small businesses, and I'll need to be in charge of how we market them. I can't do this halfway." Robert nods without hesitation. "Done. We'll give you everything you need. Let's make this happen." They discuss the details over the next hour, contract terms, timelines, and expectations. By the end of the meeting, Melissa feels the weight of the future shifting beneath her. She's not just another marketing consultant. She's the person who's going to help change the course of downtown Detroit. As she leaves Robert's office, the weight of the day still presses down on her. There's no fanfare, no dramatic moment of triumph. But inside, she feels different. She feels like she's finally been seen. She steps out onto the streets of downtown, taking a deep breath of the crisp air. The streets are still empty, but in the distance, she sees people moving. People who, just like her, are trying to make something better out of what's left. The city may be worn down, but it's not broken, and neither is she. The following weeks blur together in a steady rhythm of meetings, proposals, and late nights spent refining her work. Melissa finds herself settling into the role she has dreamed of for so long. A businesswoman, a consultant, someone who calls the shots. But the challenges are real, and so are the doubts. It's not easy to break through when the city around you still whispers of failure. When people look at you with skepticism, questioning your every move. In the wake of her meeting with Robert, Melissa realizes how much she has to prove. Robert has promised her full support, but there's still the long road ahead of her. Working with businesses that have seen better days, reaching out to a community that has been neglected for too long. One evening, after another exhausting day of strategizing, Melissa receives a message from Elaine, the woman who had been her first real ally since she stepped out on her own. Elaine had been the first to believe in her, the first to see her not just as a secretary or an overlooked employee, but as someone with real potential. And now, Elaine has been instrumental in getting her in front of the right people. Let's meet. The text reads, followed by the address to a small coffee shop downtown. Melissa has learned to trust Elaine's judgment. She doesn't hesitate. She grabs her coat and heads out into the chilly evening air. The streets are quieter now, less busy than they once were, but there's something comforting about the city's stillness. The hum of life, though muted, is always present. The coffee shop is tucked in a corner, far from the flashier establishments that cater to the city's elite. It's a small, intimate place, filled with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and the soft murmur of conversations. Elaine is already there, sitting at a table near the window. She waves as Melissa approaches, a warm smile on her face. "Melissa, good to see you," Elaine says, gesturing to the chair across from her. "I've been meaning to tell you, this is the first time I've seen you so centered. You're not just doing the work anymore, you're owning it." Melissa smiles, but she's not entirely sure how to respond. The weight of her new role still feels heavy at times, and there's always the lingering voice of doubt in the back of her mind. She sits down, grateful for the comfort of the warm drink Elaine places in front of her. "I'm just trying to keep up," Melissa admits. "I've got Robert's backing now, but I still feel like I'm chasing something. I've got big ideas, but sometimes it feels like I'm still the secretary trying to prove myself." Elaine nods knowingly. "I get it. You've always been the one who works behind the scenes, but that's changing. You've got the vision, Melissa. You just need to show them that." The words hit her harder than she expects. "Show them?" she repeats softly. Elaine leans forward, her eyes steady. "You've been overlooked for so long, but people are starting to take notice. Don't let their doubts hold you back anymore. The more you show up, the more they'll believe in you. You've already proven yourself with Robert. Now you just have to keep pushing forward." Melissa exhales, feeling the weight of her journey in that moment. She has come so far, but it feels like there's always something standing in the way. Something that makes her feel small, like the woman she once was, the one who worked for someone else, the one who couldn't rise above the glass ceiling. But there's something in Elaine's words that resonates deeply. "Show them." The idea settles in Melissa's mind like a seed taking root. She's tired of fighting for scraps, tired of waiting for someone to tell her she's good enough. She knows she's worth more than that. The next few days are a whirlwind of meetings, phone calls, and emails. Melissa has already set up several appointments with small businesses around Detroit, most of them struggling, some barely staying afloat. But each one represents a new opportunity, a chance to make a real difference. She meets with restaurant owners, boutique shops, local manufacturers, each conversation a step toward building the foundation of her new career. But with each success, there's a small seed of doubt that grows in her mind. The rejections still sting, even though they're fewer now. She wonders if she's truly being seen for what she's capable of, or if she's still the overlooked woman trying to climb the ladder. Then one day, she gets a call from one of her former colleagues at the marketing firm where she worked for years before striking out on her own. It's Rachel, a fellow secretary who had worked with her at the firm for over a decade. "Melissa, I heard about what you're doing. I didn't realize you'd gone full on with your own business." "That's amazing," Rachel says, her voice thick with surprise. For a moment, Melissa is taken aback. She hasn't heard from Rachel in months, and she hasn't exactly been broadcasting her success. "Thanks, Rachel. It's been a lot of hard work." Rachel hesitates on the other end of the line. "I wanted to ask, would you be willing to help us with something? I know things didn't go so well before, but we could really use your expertise on a new project we're working on." Melissa's heart skips a beat. The The last time she had worked with Rachel and the team at the marketing firm, she was just another employee, stuck in the background. She'd given her all, but it had never been enough. And now they were coming to her for help? She takes a deep breath. "What's the project?" she asks, trying to keep her voice steady. Rachel explains that the company is looking to revamp its client base, focusing on smaller businesses in the city, something Melissa had been doing for months. It's clear that the firm is struggling to keep up with the demands of the market, and they need someone who has already established a name for herself in the community. "They rejected my proposal a year ago," Melissa says, her voice tight with the memory. "Now they need my help?" Rachel's tone softens. "I know, and I'm sore. Sting of the past, the resentment of being overlooked for so long. But there's something else in her, a quiet strength that tells her she doesn't need them anymore. She's not chasing approval. She's not desperate for their validation. "I'll think about it," she says, keeping her voice steady. "But I'll need to discuss the terms. I'm not the same person I was when I worked with you. My rates have changed." The call ends shortly after, and Melissa sits in silence for a few moments, contemplating her next move. She could help them, show them just how much they underestimated her. But something inside her tells her that she doesn't need to prove anything to them anymore. She's already proven it to herself. The next few days pass in a blur. She continues to build her business, steadily gaining more clients and establishing a reputation. But there's a shift in how she carries herself, how she walks into meetings with her head held high, her confidence unwavering. She no longer feels like the woman in the back of the room, waiting for someone to notice her. She is the one in control. One evening, as she walks out of another successful meeting, she notices a familiar face across the street. Greg Owens, the man who had once dismissed her dreams. He's standing outside of his office building, talking to a colleague, his suit sharp and impeccable as always. Melissa stands frozen for a moment, watching him. There's no anger in her, no desire for revenge. Just a quiet recognition that the person who once rejected her no longer has the power to dictate her worth. She isn't the same woman she was when he laughed at her proposal. She has built something far stronger than his approval. With that thought in mind, she takes a step forward, walking past Greg without a second glance. The city is hers to conquer now, and she isn't looking back. The days pass into weeks, and with each passing moment, Melissa feels a small shift within herself. Her confidence doesn't just come from the clients she's gaining or the deals she's closing. It comes from the quiet, unspoken knowledge that she's no longer waiting for anyone to validate her. She's no longer searching for permission. Her inbox is filled with messages from businesses eager to work with her, each one more promising than the last. Yet, despite all the progress, there's a nagging thought that keeps creeping back into her mind. Greg, the man who rejected her proposal, the man who had once mocked her for even thinking she could command such a rate, the man who had, in his own way, defined the boundaries of her dreams for so long. But as the days pass, that thought becomes quieter and quieter. The work she's doing now, the real substantive work, is what truly matters. And she knows it. One afternoon, she's sitting at her desk, crafting an email for a new client in Ferndale when her phone rings. The number on the screen is unfamiliar, and for a brief moment, she wonders if it's another telemarketer. But then she notices the area code, 248, Detroit. The connection feels almost immediate, a wave of recognition. She answers the call. "Melissa, it's Greg," a familiar voice says on the other end of the line. Her breath catches for a second. There it is, the name that has been tied to so much of her past rejection, so many of her moments of doubt. It's the last thing she expected, and for a fleeting second, she wonders if she should hang up. But she doesn't. She's not that woman anymore. "Greg," she replies, her voice steady, confident. "What's up?" There's a brief silence on the other end before Greg speaks again, his tone sounding more hesitant than it ever did when they worked together. I've been thinking about our last conversation," he says slowly. "About the proposal you sent me." Melissa's heart skips a beat. She doesn't say anything, letting the silence stretch for a moment. Her hand tightens around the phone, but she remains calm, her composure unwavering. I wasn't sure what to make of it when I first saw it, Greg continues. But now, with everything you've been doing, it's clear I was wrong. You were right. You know the market. You know how to get results. A quiet smile tugs at the corner of Melissa's lips. She's not surprised. She knew, deep down, that Greg would come around. He always had a way of dismissing things until they became undeniable. She's learned to accept that this is his pattern. It doesn't sting like it used to, though. The pain of rejection has transformed into something more empowering. I'm listening, she says, leaning back in her chair. What are you thinking? Greg clears his throat, and she can hear the uncertainty in his voice. Something she hasn't heard before. I want to offer you a contract, the full rate you proposed. The words hit her like a wave, but instead of the rush of excitement she would have felt a year ago, Melissa feels a quiet sense of satisfaction, of knowing that the price she had set wasn't too high, wasn't unattainable. It was exactly what she deserved. Okay, she replies. But before I agree, there are a couple of things I need to clarify. Greg sounds taken aback. Of course. What do you need? Melissa takes a breath and lists her terms calmly, clearly, without hesitation. She isn't asking for permission anymore. She's laying down the boundaries, the ones she's spent so long avoiding. She's not just taking what's offered. She's negotiating a future she believes in. I'll need full creative control over the campaign. I won't work with anyone who doesn't respect the vision we've discussed. I'll need a guarantee of consistent support and no interference from the team. Greg pauses again, and Melissa can hear the hesitation in his voice. That's a lot of control, Melissa. Are you sure you're ready for all that? She smiles. I've been ready for years, Greg. It's time for you to catch up. After a long pause, Greg finally agrees. All right, I'll send over the contract with those terms. As the call ends, Melissa sits back in her chair, feeling a wave of calm wash over her. This moment, the one where she took charge, where she didn't settle for less, where she showed up as herself, feels more like a victory than anything else. It wasn't just about proving Greg wrong. It was about proving to herself that she had the strength, the vision, and the courage to take control of her future. As she moves forward, the shadow of Greg's rejection begins to shrink, fading into the past. What was once a painful wound is now nothing more than a memory of what she had to go through to get where she is. She's built this life herself. In the following days, Melissa's schedule becomes more packed than ever. She meets with business owners in all corners of Detroit, local restaurants, tech startups, and even small boutiques, each one eager for her insight and expertise. Word is spreading quickly. Melissa Harrison is the go-to marketing consultant in Detroit. But even as her reputation grows, she feels the weight of her new success settling into her bones. She's finally in control of her career, but the pressure to maintain this momentum is unlike anything she's ever felt. She's no longer the woman who worked behind the scenes. She's the woman at the front, the one everyone turns to for answers. And while that's exactly what she's always wanted, there are moments when it feels like too much. One evening, after another long day of meetings, she sits in her small apartment, sipping tea and flipping through the latest batch of proposals. The phone rings again. She glances at the screen. It's Robert. Hey, Robert, she says, picking up. She's still not quite used to hearing from him outside of business hours, but she welcomes the call. Melissa, how's everything going? He asks, his voice warm, familiar. It's going well, she says, smiling despite herself. Lots of meetings, lots of projects. But I'm managing. Robert chuckles. I can tell. You're everywhere these days. You've really built something great. Melissa takes a breath, leaning back against her couch. I'm trying. It's still a little overwhelming, though. Sometimes I wonder if I'm really cut out for this. Robert's voice softens. Melissa, you've got everything you need. You've always had it in you. Now the world is starting to see it. She exhales slowly. I know, but sometimes it feels like I'm still that woman who was dismissed by everyone. Greg, the clients who said no, the people who told me I couldn't do this. Robert's tone turns serious. "You're not that woman anymore. You've changed, Melissa. And now people are starting to respect you for who you really are. Don't ever forget that." The words hang in the air, resonating with her on a level she hasn't quite fully acknowledged yet. She's not just fighting for success. She's fighting for the person she's always known she could become. And she's winning. "Thanks, Robert," she says quietly. "I needed to hear that." As the days turn into weeks, Melissa's confidence continues to grow. With each new contract, each new client, she becomes more and more entrenched in the life she's built. And though there are still moments of doubt, moments when she wonders if she's truly ready for the full weight of success, she knows one thing for certain. She's done waiting for anyone to give her permission. The world will see her now, not as someone to be overlooked, but as someone to be reckoned with. And for the first time, that feels like enough. The days blur together for Melissa as she continues to build her career, gaining more clients, and establishing herself as a true businesswoman. She's become a force to be reckoned with in Detroit, but the work is far from easy. There are moments when the weight of success is almost too much to bear, and moments when doubt creeps back in, whispering that maybe she's not really cut out for all of this. But then, there are days like today when everything feels aligned, when the universe seems to be working with her rather than against her. It's late afternoon, and Melissa has just wrapped up a meeting with a new restaurant owner in Greektown, one of Detroit's vibrant neighborhoods. The sun is beginning to set, casting a warm glow across the city. Melissa walks out of the restaurant, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The meeting went well. The restaurant owner, a young woman named Tasha, has agreed to let Melissa handle their marketing campaign. It's another victory for Melissa, another small but significant step forward. As she walks down the sidewalk, her phone buzzes. She pulls it out of her purse to see a text from Elaine. "Hey Melissa, want to meet up? I'm at the coffee shop on Woodward. Come by if you have time." Melissa smiles and quickly types a response, agreeing to meet up. She's always grateful for these moments with Elaine. Their friendship has grown over the past few months, and Elaine has been her rock, offering advice, encouragement, and support when Melissa has needed it the most. Melissa makes her way toward the coffee shop, enjoying the brisk breeze that has started to sweep through the city. Detroit feels different these days, alive, almost as if it's waking up from a long slumber. The streets are bustling with people, the hum of traffic filling the air. There's a renewed sense of possibility in the city, and Melissa can't help but feel a deep connection to it. This is her city. She's part of the transformation that's happening here, and she's not going anywhere. She reaches the coffee shop a few minutes later. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee greets her as she steps inside. Elaine is sitting at a small table near the window, sipping on a latte and flipping through a magazine. When she spots Melissa, her face lights up with a smile. "Hey you!" Elaine waves her over. "How's it going?" Melissa takes a seat across from her, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. "It's going great," she says, the smile on her face genuine. "I just wrapped up a meeting with Tasha from that new restaurant down on Greektown. She's agreed to work with me. I'm feeling pretty good about it." Elaine's eyes widen. "That's amazing, Melissa. You're really on fire right now." Melissa laughs, but there's a hint of uncertainty in her voice. "I don't know about that. I mean, things are going well, but there are still so many moments when I wonder if I'm actually doing enough. You know?" Elaine leans forward, her expression serious. "You're doing more than enough. You've built this business from the ground up. You're working with real clients now, not just small projects here and there. This is the beginning of something huge, Melissa. Don't doubt yourself." Melissa nods, but the doubt lingers. It's always there, like a shadow she can't quite shake off. Just as she's about to respond, the door to the coffee shop opens, and a familiar face walks in. It's Robert, the same Robert who had hired her for her first major project months ago. He spots her almost immediately and gives her a warm smile as he walks over. "Well, if it isn't the woman of the hour," Robert says, his voice friendly. "Melissa, how's everything going?" Elaine raises an eyebrow at the interaction, but Melissa hides her surprise behind a smile. "Robert, good to see you," she says, standing to shake his hand. "Everything's going well. Thanks for asking." Robert takes a seat at the table, his casual demeanor putting Melissa at ease. "I was just in the area for a meeting and thought I'd stop by. It's been a while since we've caught up." Melissa glances over at Elaine, who gives her a subtle nod. It's clear that Elaine is curious about why Robert is here, but Melissa has nothing to hide. She's worked hard to get to this point, and she's not afraid to show it. "Well, things have been busy," Melissa says, sitting back in her chair. "I've been working with more clients, restaurants, boutiques, small businesses around the city. It's been a lot, but it's been good." Robert smiles. "I'm glad to hear that. You're really making a name for yourself, Melissa. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about your work lately." Melissa feels a slight blush rise to her cheeks. She's not used to hearing compliments like this, especially not from someone like Robert, but she doesn't let it show. "Thanks, Robert. It means a lot to hear that." There's a brief silence as Robert sips his coffee, looking thoughtful. "You know, I've been talking to some of my colleagues," he says, breaking the silence. "We're all looking for fresh perspectives on some of our marketing strategies, and I think you're exactly the person we need." Melissa raises an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Robert leans forward, his expression sincere. "Well, our firm is expanding and we need someone with your kind of vision. Someone who understands the community, who knows how to connect with people. I'd like to offer you a more permanent position with the firm. Something with more responsibility, more leadership." Melissa's heart skips a beat. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't even considered the possibility of going back to corporate work. But the offer hangs in the air, tempting her with the security of a steady income, a structured role, and the kind of recognition she's always wanted. Elaine watches the conversation unfold, her eyes flicking between Melissa and Robert. She knows Melissa better than anyone, and she can tell that Melissa is considering the offer. But Elaine also knows that Melissa has worked too hard to get where she is now to go back to a place where she was once overlooked. Melissa remains silent for a moment, letting the words settle. It's tempting, so tempting. The offer is exactly what she's been waiting for all these years. But then, she looks down at the table, at the work she's been doing, at the clients she's been building relationships with, and at the woman she's become. She's not just looking for validation anymore. She's looking for freedom, the freedom to work on her own terms, to shape her future without anyone holding her back. Finally, she speaks, her voice steady. "I appreciate the offer, Robert, I really do. But I think I'm on the right path with my own business. I've worked too hard to build it up, and I'm not ready to give that up." Robert looks at her for a long moment, as if considering her decision. Then he smiles. "I respect that, Melissa. You've got guts, and I'm sure you'll do great things. If you ever change your mind, the offer stands." Melissa smiles back, feeling a surge of relief. She didn't need to go back. She had already built the life she wanted. As Robert stands to leave, he gives her a knowing glance. "Take care, Melissa, and keep making waves." When Robert leaves the coffee shop, the air in the room shifts. Elaine looks at Melissa with a proud smile. "You did the right thing, you know that, right?" Melissa nods, feeling the weight of her decision. "I know. It's tempting, but I've come too far to turn back now." The next few weeks are a blur of successes, new projects, and steady growth. Melissa's calendar fills up faster than she anticipated. Small business owners in Detroit are taking notice of her work. Word of mouth is spreading, and with it, a surge of new opportunities. Her phone rings constantly, and her inbox overflows with requests for marketing services. Every time she sends an invoice, she feels a quiet sense of pride. Not because of the money, but because she's finally charging what she knows she's worth. But the rush of success is not without its challenges. Each new project brings new obstacles, tight deadlines, demanding clients, the occasional conflict over creative direction. It's nothing she can't handle, though. With each challenge, her confidence grows. She's no longer intimidated by the weight of responsibility. She handles it with ease, a quiet assurance that she's exactly where she's meant to be. It's a Saturday afternoon, and Melissa is sitting in her favorite cafe in Midtown Detroit, working on a new strategy for a local brewery. The place is bustling with activity, people chatting, laughing, and enjoying their coffee. She's always loved this cafe. It has a certain energy, a kind of creativity that feeds her work. It's the perfect environment for thinking outside the box, and right now she's doing just that. Her phone buzzes again, this time with a text from Elaine. "Melissa, I heard about the new contract with the brewery. You're killing it. I'm so proud of you." Melissa smiles as she types a quick response. "Thanks, Elaine. It's been crazy, but in a good way." She sets her phone down, picking up the stack of papers in front of her. But something catches her eye as she glances out the window. Across the street, she notices a familiar face walking toward the cafe, Greg. The man who had once rejected her proposal, the man who had laughed at her ambitions, the man who had told her she wasn't worth the price she asked for. For a moment, she freezes, a strange mix of emotions flooding through her. She hasn't seen Greg since their last phone call, when he offered her a contract after realizing she was the real deal. But now, as she watches him walk toward the door, she feels a sudden wave of discomfort. She doesn't want to deal with him. Not now, not after everything that's happened. But before she can retreat into her thoughts, the door opens and Greg steps inside. He spots her immediately and makes his way over to her table with a warm smile. "Melissa," he says, his voice friendly. "I didn't expect to see you here." Melissa stands, trying to hide the surprise on her face. "Greg, it's been a while." He gestures to the empty chair across from her. "Mind if I join you?" She hesitates, but there's a certain weariness in his eyes that Melissa hasn't noticed before. "I heard about your success," he says, leaning back in his chair. "The brewery contract, the restaurant deals. You're really making a name for yourself." Melissa nods, feeling a mix of pride and something else. Maybe discomfort, maybe a touch of vindication. "Things have been going well," she replies, keeping her voice steady. "I've been busy, but it's been good." Greg watches her for a moment, his gaze lingering on her face. "You've come a long way, Melissa. I've been following your work, and I have to admit, I was wrong about you." The words hit her like a sudden jolt, but she doesn't let it show. "I appreciate that, Greg," she says, keeping her tone neutral. "But I've moved on. I'm not the same person I was when we worked together." Greg looks down, a hint of guilt creeping into his expression. "I know. I realize now that I underestimated you. And honestly, it's been eating at me. I was so focused on my own agenda that I didn't see how much potential you had." Melissa takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words. She had spent so long fighting for recognition, fighting for the chance to prove herself, that hearing this from Greg is a complicated feeling. She had dreamed of this moment, of him acknowledging her success, but now that it's happening, it feels anticlimactic. It's not about Greg anymore. It's about her. "I don't need your approval, Greg," she says, her voice firm but calm. "I've worked hard for everything I have, and I don't regret any of it." Greg nods slowly, his eyes still fixed on her. "I get it. I've been watching you from a distance, and I'm impressed. But I'm also sorry. I should have believed in you from the start." Melissa smiles, a quiet, knowing smile. She's not angry. She's not even resentful. The old Melissa might have sought revenge, might have felt a deep need for vindication. But the woman she's become doesn't need that. She's already won. She doesn't need Greg's apology or his recognition to feel validated. "It's all right, Greg," she says softly. "You didn't see it then, but I see it now. And that's enough." There's a long silence between them, the weight of their past hanging in the air. But Melissa doesn't feel the old tension, the old anger. She just feels calm, complete. She knows who she is now, and she knows what she's worth. It doesn't matter whether Greg acknowledges it or not. Greg stands up to leave, offering her one last look before he walks toward the door. "I just wanted to say it," he says quietly. "Good luck with everything, Melissa. You've earned it." As he exits, Melissa sits back in her chair, staring out the window. The sunlight casts a warm glow across the cafe, and for the first time, she feels like the world is truly her own. She has nothing left to prove to anyone. The moment is simple, unremarkable in its stillness. But to Melissa, it's everything. She is standing in the life she has built, and there is nothing anyone can take from her anymore. Later that evening, as Melissa walks home, she feels a sense of peace she hasn't experienced in years. She passes by the same streets, the same buildings, but now they feel different. She's not a bystander in her own life anymore. She's the one making things happen. The city feels alive with possibility, with the promise of a future she's shaping with her own hands. Every step she takes is a reminder of the strength it took to get here. Every moment of doubt, every rejection, every setback, they all led her here. And now Melissa knows without a doubt that she is worth more than anyone ever gave her credit for. And this quiet confidence, this certainty in who she is, will carry her into the future. No more doubts, no more apologies, just her, walking forward into a world she has created for herself. The morning sun filters through the blinds of Melissa's apartment, casting long shadows across her desk. She's been up since 5, working on the latest marketing campaign for a local boutique in Ferndale. The excitement she once felt in the early days of building her business is now a steady hum in the background. There's always something to do, always another client to meet, another proposal to send. But as the days pass, Melissa finds herself drifting between the highs of success and the lows of loneliness. She never expected it to be easy, but as her business grows, she feels more isolated from the people she once worked with, people she considered friends, people who, she realizes, never truly saw her as anything more than just another cog in the machine. There's an emptiness that starts to settle in her chest. She's winning, yes, but there's something about winning alone that doesn't feel quite as sweet. Her phone buzzes on the desk, interrupting her thoughts. She glances at the screen. It's a message from Rachel, the woman who had worked with her at the firm all those years ago. Rachel was one of the few people who understood Melissa's ambition, who had always cheered her on, even when it felt like the world was against her. "Melissa, let's grab lunch today. I need to talk to you." Melissa smiles and types a quick response, agreeing to meet at their usual spot in Midtown, a small cafe that had been their go-to for years. She hadn't seen Rachel in weeks, not since their brief conversation about the firm's offer, and she's curious to know what Rachel wants to talk about. As she drives to the cafe, Melissa reflects on the way things have changed. The people she used to work with, the friends she thought she had, seem so distant now. She tries not to dwell on it, but the more she thinks about it, the more she realizes that success has a way of creating divides. Divides between who you used to be and who you're becoming. She parks in front of the cafe and steps out of her car, the familiar smell of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. The cafe is bustling with activity. People chatting, the sound of plates clinking, the murmur of conversation filling the space. Feels different now, quieter in a way, like everything around her is moving faster than she is. And for a moment, Melissa feels like she's standing still. She enters the cafe, her eyes scanning the room for Rachel. She spots her sitting at a corner table, her dark hair pulled back into a ponytail, a cup of coffee in front of her. Rachel looks up and smiles as Melissa walks over, her expression warm but tired. "Hey," Rachel says, standing up to give her a hug. "It's been way too long." "I know," Melissa replies, sitting down across from her. "I've been busy with work, you know how it is." Rachel nods, but there's a hesitation in her voice. "I get it. I do. But I've been thinking about something, and I need to talk to you about it." Melissa tilts her head, intrigued. "What's going on?" Rachel takes a deep breath, her eyes searching for the right words. "It's about the firm. I've been thinking about leaving. There's just too much going on, too much that's, well, not right, and I don't know what to do about it." Melissa feels a pang of surprise. Rachel had always seemed so loyal to the firm, so dedicated. To hear her talk about leaving feels almost foreign. But at the same time, it makes perfect sense. She's been there too, stuck, underappreciated, pushed aside. "Why are you thinking about leaving?" Melissa asks, her voice soft. "What's happened?" Rachel leans back in her chair, her eyes filled with frustration. I don't know. It's just, everything's changed. We used to be a team, you know? We used to work together, support each other. But now, it feels like it's all about politics, about getting ahead, about doing what they want, not what's best for the clients. I just don't feel like I belong there anymore. Melissa nods, her thoughts drifting to her own experience in the firm. She knows exactly what Rachel is talking about. The long hours, the silent competition, the constant pressure to be someone else, someone who fits the mold. But for Melissa, it's different now. She's no longer part of that world, and she's not sure if she can go back to it. I get it, Melissa says quietly. I really do. It's hard when you realize that the place you've been working for isn't the place that's right for you anymore. Rachel sighs, looking out the window for a moment before turning back to Melissa. I guess I just feel lost. I'm not sure where I belong anymore. You've made it, Melissa. You're doing what you've always wanted to do. But me? I don't know what's next for me. Melissa feels a rush of sympathy for Rachel, but at the same time, there's a small part of her that feels a little disconnected. She's moved past this. She's no longer the woman who was constantly searching for approval, constantly questioning her worth. But Rachel, she's still caught in that world, the one that Melissa escaped when she decided to go out on her own. I don't have all the answers, Melissa says softly, but I know this, you're stronger than you think. You have more to offer than anyone at that firm realizes. And if you want to leave, if you want to do something different, I think you should. You don't need them to validate you anymore. You've got what it takes to build something for yourself, too. Rachel looks at Melissa, her eyes filled with both gratitude and uncertainty. You really think so? Melissa smiles. I know so. The conversation shifts to lighter topics, and for the next hour, they talk about everything and nothing. But the weight of Rachel's words lingers in Melissa's mind. She's come so far, built a life that is all her own. But there's a part of her that still feels the pull of her past. Of the people she once worked with, the friends she thought she'd have forever. After their lunch, they part ways, each of them going in different directions. As Melissa walks back to her car, she feels a quiet sadness settle over her. The people she used to be close to, the people who once cheered her on, now seem so distant. She's no longer part of their world, and they're no longer part of hers. But as she drives home, the sadness gives way to a sense of clarity. She doesn't need to cling to the past. She's made a name for herself, built something that is entirely her own. And if people can't see her for who she is, then that's their loss, not hers. Over the next few weeks, Melissa's business continues to thrive. She's secured several long-term clients, and her name is becoming more and more well-known in the Detroit business community. But despite the success, there's still a nagging feeling that something is missing. The loneliness creeps in when she's alone in her office late at night, working on a proposal, or when she walks the empty streets of Detroit, knowing that she's made it, but still feeling the sting of isolation. She knows she's not the only one. The city is full of people just like her. People who have worked hard to get where they are, but who still feel like they're on the outside, looking in. It's in those moments of quiet reflection that Melissa understands something crucial. Success isn't just about building a business or gaining recognition. It's about building relationships, real relationships, where you're seen for who you are, not just for what you can offer. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for her to start rebuilding those connections. Not just with old friends, but with the people who matter most. The ones who see her, truly see her, for who she's become. Melissa's phone rings again, just as the first light of dawn breaks through the blinds. She squints, still half asleep, but the moment she sees the name on the screen, she jolts upright. It's Robert, the message she's been waiting for, the one that could change everything, might finally be here. She answers it quickly, wiping the sleep from her eyes and trying to gather her thoughts. Hello, Melissa. Robert's voice sounds warm, but there's a seriousness in it she hasn't heard before. I need you to come in. Now. Melissa's heart races as she sits up, fully awake now. Is something wrong? No, nothing's wrong. I just need to see you in person. We have to discuss the future of this project. And your role in it. Robert pauses. "Can you come down to the office today?" It's clear that Robert is serious. The urgency in his voice tells her this isn't just another update. Something is about to shift, something important. "Of course," Melissa replies, her mind already racing with possibilities. "I'll be there in an hour." She hangs up the phone, her mind already replaying the various scenarios. Robert had mentioned a new role for her in the project, but she had no idea what he was really offering. She quickly changes into a simple, yet professional outfit and gathers her things. As she walks out the door, her thoughts swirl. This could be her big break, or it could be a test she isn't prepared for. Melissa arrives at Robert's office just before noon, her nerves beginning to settle as she steps inside. The building is sleek and modern, a far cry from the gritty, industrial areas of Detroit where she had once worked. It still feels foreign to her in a way, but she doesn't mind. She's earned the right to be here. She's fought for every inch of her success, and she won't let anyone take that away from her now. When she steps into the conference room, she sees Robert standing by the window, looking out at the city. He turns when he hears her enter, offering a smile. "Thanks for coming, Melissa." "Of course," she says, her voice calm despite the nervous energy buzzing through her veins. "What's going on?" Robert gestures to the chair in front of him, urging her to sit. "Take a seat. I want to be transparent with you. I've been talking to the team, and we all agree that your work has been nothing short of impressive. The way you've been able to turn businesses around, especially in a city like Detroit, it's exactly what we need." Melissa's heart skips a beat. It sounds like a compliment, but there's something more beneath it. She leans forward, eager to hear what comes next. "We've been doing some restructuring," Robert continues, walking over to the table and sitting down. "The firm is expanding, and we need someone with your vision, someone who's been on the ground, working directly with the businesses. We want you to lead the next phase of this project, expand it, take it to the next level. It's a bigger role, a more prominent position, and we'd like to offer it to you." Melissa feels her pulse quicken as she processes what Robert is saying. It's the offer she's been waiting for, the opportunity to not just be another consultant, but to become a central figure in the firm's growth. Her years of hard work, her refusal to accept less than she deserved, had led her to this moment. But something inside her holds her back. It's as if she's standing at the edge of something huge, something life-changing, but her instincts are telling her to pause. She doesn't want to make a decision in the heat of the moment. She needs time to think, time to weigh the cost of everything she's built so far. "I appreciate the offer, Robert," she says carefully, her voice steady, "but I need some time to think about it. This is a big decision, and I want to make sure I'm doing what's right for me." Robert seems to understand, nodding thoughtfully. "Of course, take all the time you need. But know this, there's no one else I trust more for this role. You've proven yourself time and time again, and I'm confident that you'll take this firm to places it's never been before." He looks at her with a mixture of admiration and expectation, and for a moment, Melissa feels the weight of his words settling in her chest. She's not just another consultant anymore. She's the one they need. She's the one who has the power to change things. But does she want to change things in this way? Is this the life she wants? The question hangs in the air as Melissa stands, her mind racing. "I'll get back to you soon," she says, turning toward the door. Robert's voice calls out as she reaches for the handle. "Take your time, Melissa. I'm looking forward to hearing what you decide." As she walks out of the building, the weight of the decision weighs heavily on her. She knows she's been given an opportunity that many would jump at, one that would bring stability, prestige, and a steady flow of income. But in the pit of her stomach, there's a sense of hesitation. She has fought too long to build something on her own to simply walk away from it. She doesn't need the approval of others anymore. She doesn't need to be part of a system that didn't see her value from the start. She's already achieved something she can be proud of. But now she has to decide what comes next. The days that follow are filled with quiet contemplation. Melissa meets with clients, handles her daily tasks, but the question looms in the back of her mind. Should she take the offer? Could she go back to the firm? Or was she better off staying the course she had set for herself? One evening, as she's walking through downtown Detroit, she has an epiphany. She passes by a small storefront, its windows covered in dust and dirt, its door barely hanging on its hinges. The building has been empty for years, but as she stands there looking at it, she sees something different. It's not just an old, abandoned building. It's a place that could be something more, a place she could help transform just like she's done with the businesses she's already worked with. It's in that moment that Melissa realizes she's not just building a career, she's building a legacy, and that legacy doesn't belong to anyone but her. She pulls out her phone, staring at the message from Robert. The offer is still on the table. But now Melissa knows what she has to do. She doesn't need to be part of a larger organization to make a difference. She's already making a difference, one business at a time, one step at a time. The next morning, Melissa calls Robert. "Hi, Robert. It's Melissa," she says, her voice steady. "I've made my decision." She pauses for a moment, letting the weight of the moment settle in. "I'm going to pass on the offer," she says. "I've built something on my own, and I want to continue down this path. I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, but this is my time to keep going in the direction I've chosen." There's a long pause on the other end, and for a moment, Melissa wonders if she's made a mistake. But then, Robert speaks, his voice calm and understanding. "I understand, Melissa," he says, "and I respect your decision. You've built something incredible, and I have no doubt you'll continue to succeed. If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me." "Thank you, Robert," she says, her voice warm. "I appreciate everything." She hangs up the phone, her heart light. She's made the right choice. She's not just working for success. She's building a future, and that future belongs to her and no one else. As she sits at her desk, looking out over the city, she feels a sense of peace she hasn't known before. This is her time, her journey, and it's just beginning. The weeks following her decision are a whirlwind of quiet satisfaction and subtle tension. Melissa feels a weight lifting from her shoulders, a sense of relief she hadn't expected when she turned down Robert's offer. It was the right choice, the one that aligned with everything she had worked for. Yet, in the silence of the city's stillness, she couldn't help but wonder, what now? What happens after she's made her stand and turned down the safe path that was offered? Success is great, but it's not permanent. She still has to work to keep it, to make sure the opportunities keep coming. Detroit may be buzzing with life, but the competition is fierce, and there's no guarantee that everything she's built will last. Melissa spends most of her time working, meeting clients, and growing her business. Every meeting is an opportunity to prove her worth. Her inbox is full, and her phone rings constantly. She is busy, successful, and productive. But as the days pass, the satisfaction of success begins to feel hollow. The absence of her former colleagues, the ones she used to confide in, the ones who had been there for her through the thick and thin of her early career, feels more noticeable now. She's built something, yes, but something inside her misses the connection, the camaraderie she once had. She doesn't want to go back to that old world, not after all she's been through. But part of her wishes there was a way to bridge the gap between who she was and who she's become. One night, as she's wrapping up for the day, she receives an unexpected message. It's from Rachel. "Melissa, I need to talk to you. Can we meet tomorrow?" Melissa hesitates for a moment. She hasn't heard from Rachel in a few weeks, and the sudden urgency in her message makes Melissa wonder what's going on. She quickly texts back, agreeing to meet at their usual spot, the same cafe they've shared so many conversations in. The next day, Melissa arrives at the cafe a little earlier than usual. The atmosphere inside is warm, comforting, and familiar. The soft murmur of conversations fills the air as she waits for Rachel. She's not sure what to expect, but her curiosity is piqued. She's been feeling off lately, as if something is about to change, something big. She wonders if this is the moment when everything will shift. When Rachel arrives, she looks different. There's a tension in her posture, a nervous energy that wasn't there before. Melissa stands to greet her, But before she can say anything, Rachel slides into the chair across from her, her eyes scanning the room before settling on Melissa. Melissa, Rachel pauses, clearly trying to gather her thoughts. I'm in a tough spot right now. Melissa raises an eyebrow. What's going on? Rachel lets out a heavy sigh. I've been working with the firm for over a decade now, and I thought I was doing well. But things have changed. They've been pushing me harder than ever, and I'm constantly feeling like I'm not enough. I keep getting passed over for promotions, and no matter how much I work, I feel invisible. Melissa listens carefully, her heart aching for her old friend. She knows exactly what Rachel is feeling. She's been there in that same place where every step forward feels like it's met with 2 steps back. But now, she's no longer part of that world, no longer stuck in that pattern. Still, she can't deny the part of her that feels for Rachel. She wants to help. She wants to give her the same strength that has helped Melissa get this far. Rachel, you're not invisible, Melissa says, her voice steady. You've got more potential than they've ever given you credit for. But you have to start believing in yourself. You don't need to stay there. There's so much more waiting for you. Rachel looks down at the table, her fingers twisting the handle of her coffee cup. I don't know, Melissa. I've been here so long. It feels like I've built my whole life around this job. But now, I'm realizing that it's not enough. They don't value me the way I deserve. The words hit Melissa hard. She remembers that feeling. The feeling of being stuck, of giving everything you've got to something that doesn't give back. It's a painful realization, but it's one that she had to face too. And once she faced it, she knew there was no going back. You have to stop looking for validation from them, Melissa says softly. You've been doing that your whole life, but you've built something, Rachel. You're capable of so much more than this. Rachel shakes her head. But I don't know how to start over. I'm scared. I don't know what's next. Melissa leans forward, her eyes meeting Rachel's. It's not easy, scary as hell. But if you want more, if you want to feel like you matter, you have to take that first step. You've got to leave what's holding you back. Rachel looks at Melissa for a long moment, as if considering her words. Then, with a sigh, she finally nods. I don't know if I'm ready, but I think you're right. Maybe it's time for me to find something else. Something that will make me feel valued. Melissa smiles, a feeling of quiet satisfaction filling her chest. It's not a victory over anyone else. It's not about proving anything. It's about helping Rachel see what Melissa has seen in herself. That she deserves more, that she can do more, and that there's a life beyond the walls of corporate expectations. You'll figure it out, Melissa says. It won't be easy, but you'll be fine. You've always been stronger than you give yourself credit for. A week later, Melissa receives a call from Robert. She answers it, unsure of what to expect, but a sense of anticipation fills her chest. Melissa, I wanted to follow up with you about the firm, Robert says, his tone more formal than usual. We've been doing some restructuring, and there's an opportunity for you to come on board in a bigger capacity. We're offering you a senior position with a bigger portfolio and... Melissa cuts him off, her heart pounding. Robert, I appreciate the offer, but I've already made my decision. Robert sounds surprised. Melissa, I thought we were on the same page. This could be a huge opportunity for you. I've already made a name for myself, Robert, she says, her voice calm but resolute. And I'm not interested in going back. I've built something on my own. I don't need to join the firm again. There's a long silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment, Melissa wonders if she's made a mistake. But then Robert speaks again, his voice softening. I understand, Melissa. I respect your decision. You've built something incredible, and you don't need us to validate you. I've seen your work, and I have no doubt you'll continue to succeed. As the call ends, Melissa feels a surge of pride. She's made it. She's not just another cog in the wheel anymore. She's the one who calls the shots, who sets the pace. She's not bound by anyone's expectations but her own. The next day, as Melissa walks through the streets of Detroit, her heart feels lighter. She passes by the old buildings, the ones that once felt like barriers to her success, and now they seem different. They're not obstacles. They're reminders of everything she's overcome. As she stands at the edge of the river, looking out over the city, Melissa knows she's not finished. She's just getting started. And whatever comes next, she'll face it with the same quiet strength that has carried her this far. The city of Detroit glows under the warm light of a fading sun as Melissa steps out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement. It's a typical Friday evening, the streets teeming with activity as people finish their work week and head out to enjoy the weekend. The buzz of conversation, the sound of cars rushing past, and the distant hum of the city are all too familiar to Melissa. She knows these streets well, but tonight, they feel different. She feels different. The past year has been a whirlwind of changes. New clients, new opportunities, new struggles. It feels like everything has come full circle. And yet, tonight, something inside her tells her that she's on the verge of something even bigger. She's made decisions that have led her here, but now she knows that the path she's walking is one of her own design. She stands for a moment, her eyes scanning the city she's come to love, the place where she has struggled, grown, and ultimately built a life that is hers alone. It's not just a city of steel and concrete. It's the backdrop to her personal story, a story she's written herself, one step at a time. Tonight, she's meeting with an old friend, Elaine, who has been by her side through it all. Their friendship has become one of the few constants in Melissa's life. The city may have changed, her career may have grown, but Elaine has always been there, offering her support when it felt like no one else did. As Melissa enters the coffee shop where they've agreed to meet, she's greeted by the warm, familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and the soft murmur of voices. It's busy, but the energy is calm, comforting, even. She spots Elaine right away, sitting at a table near the window, her laptop open in front of her as she types something on the screen. Elaine looks up and smiles when she sees Melissa approaching. "Hey you," she says, standing up to give her a hug. "How are you?" Melissa smiles, feeling the weight of the world lift as she's wrapped in Elaine's embrace. "I'm good. I'm really good." They sit down, and Melissa orders a latte as they settle into conversation. There's something comfortable about being with Elaine. A shared history, a mutual understanding of the journey they've both been on. As much as Melissa has changed, Elaine still sees her as the woman she's always known. "I'm proud of you, Melissa," Elaine says after a moment, her voice sincere. "You've come so far. I don't think you even realize how much you've achieved." Melissa laughs softly, feeling a mix of pride and humility. "I don't know. I've been so focused on the next thing that I haven't really had time to reflect. It's easy to get caught up in what's next, but I know I've worked hard for this." Elaine nods. "You've done more than work hard. You've made something out of nothing. You've taken risks, and now you're seeing the rewards." Melissa nods, her thoughts drifting back to the early days. The days when she was still just another secretary in a crowded office, when she spent hours drafting proposals that never saw the light of day, when she was constantly told she wasn't enough. Those days feel so far behind her now. And yet, there's something in the quiet of her own thoughts that tells her that success isn't just about achieving what you've dreamed of. It's about doing it on your own terms. And that's what she's done. As she sips her coffee, Melissa's phone buzzes in her bag, pulling her from her thoughts. She pulls it out and sees that it's a message from one of her newest clients, a local bakery that had been struggling to stay afloat before Melissa came on board. "Melissa, we just hit our best month ever. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. The marketing campaign is a game changer. The message is a simple one, but it hits her in a way that no paycheck ever could. It's not about the money or the recognition. It's about knowing that her work is making a difference, that she's helping real people, real businesses grow. It's about the impact she's having on her community, the city that once felt like it was fading, but now seems to be growing right alongside her." "Elaine, you won't believe this," Melissa says, showing her the message. "The bakery I've been working with, this is their best month ever. They're turning a profit for the first time in years." Elaine grins, clearly proud of her friend. "That's amazing, Melissa. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're not just building a business. You're building a legacy. Melissa nods, her eyes softening. She feels it now, the weight of those words. This is about more than just her career. It's about creating something that will last. Something that will help others. Something that will make a difference. As the evening unfolds, they continue to talk about everything and nothing. Family, friends, the ups and downs of their respective lives. But as Melissa listens to Elaine, as she shares her own thoughts, she realizes that she's at peace. She has built something she's proud of. And while the road hasn't always been easy, she wouldn't change a thing. Later that night, after the meeting with Elaine ends and she heads home, Melissa sits down at her desk, surrounded by the remnants of the work she's done over the years. The proposals, the client feedback, the countless hours spent crafting strategies and marketing campaigns. It all piles up in front of her. She takes a deep breath, running a hand through her hair as she leans back in her chair. The office is quiet now, the city outside bathed in moonlight. She's alone, but it doesn't feel lonely. The silence feels earned, like a moment of reflection after everything she's been through. She's at the top of her game. But the question is no longer about what's next. The question is about how she can continue to make a difference. The phone buzzes again, but this time, Melissa doesn't reach for it immediately. She's not in a rush anymore. She's not waiting for someone else to tell her she's done enough. She knows. She knows that she's already succeeded. Not because of the contracts, the clients, or the money, but because she's done it on her own terms. She picks up the phone and responds to the bakery's message with a simple note. "I'm just getting started. Thank you for trusting me." The words resonate with her as she presses send. She knows there's more to come, but for now she's content. She's done it. She's made it. And the quiet triumph of that realization fills the room, wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. As she sits in the soft glow of her desk lamp, Melissa takes a deep breath and smiles to herself. For the first time in a long time, she feels at peace with who she is and where she's going. She is no longer defined by anyone else's expectations. She is her own success, and no one can take that from her.